You're very, very welcome to our webinar for today that is around planning. We're going to be discussing, evaluating, and measuring communications, effectiveness, and efficiencies by using data as an advantage. You're very, very welcome. I'd like to just take one moment to remember some of our colleagues that are not here with us. We've lost a couple of people in the last couple of weeks due to COVID, practitioners in the trade, and we would like just to remember them. So let's just have one moment of silence for them. May their souls rest in eternal peace. Yes, so thank you and welcome again to this webinar. I'll just start with some housekeeping rules. Please keep your mics on mute. If you have any questions as we go along, please put in the chat room. We'll try and go through this quickly so that we have as much time to interact with each one of you. We've had quite a number of questions that have come in to the registration process, and would like to take as much time to go into answering these questions. Please feel free to continue adding questions into the chat section as we go along, and we will answer as many questions as we can. A hearty welcome to all the marketers on this webinar, the procurement leads, our communication gurus, the finance leads. You're all welcome. No matter how many years we have in the industry, we all share one thing in common: the mix of excitement and anxiety that comes with planning and launching of new communication campaigns, and then reporting on the success, and then being asked all those questions, what is the ROI? Should we even have done this before? We've all been there, putting tons of effort into developing on-target messaging and captivating creative, only to have the campaign fall short of our KPIs. As I've learned, some of the biggest constraints for marketers in Uganda are the channels we choose. Are these scalable? Do they deliver on penetration goals that our marketing objectives have? How is the target audience interacting with these channels? Both media and retail. Do these channels deliver sufficient reach and ad stock levels? And these are some of the questions I know you asked. Then the other constraint is applying the test and learn culture. This should be the gold standard to undertaking a single media line or initiative. Do we test our creative? Do we test our communication before it goes out? Or we put it out there and hope something will stick? Then choosing the right KPI framework on how marketing activity will drive business outcomes, and therefore having a good mix between short-term and long-term metrics of effectiveness and efficiency. And these are two different things. And as we discuss with our panel today, we will be giving detail on what are these efficiency metrics, how do they relate also to effectiveness metrics. Then investing in cross-company data platforms to manage the challenge of siloed data, and therefore leveraging the power of analytics. So how does the media data correlate with your sales data and to your overall profitability at the end of the day? So the need for joined up data is particularly acute in this day and age as marketers become more focused on consumer experiences. And what we have seen is that many brands are setting up centralized effectiveness teams to own these processes. Today, I'm excited to host a team of researchers from Ipsos, a foremost authority on marketing data, to share with us keys to efficient and effective planning, evaluation, and measurement of communication campaigns in this live data and tech talk webinar. So without further ado, allow me to introduce our panelists for the day. I'll start with Hui Kariuki. Hui Kariuki is a senior research manager, brand health tracking and creative excellence. I've known Hui for the last 10 years. Hui has a solid experience on working with big brands. I have engaged with her on brands like GSK, that's GlaxoSmithKline, Diageo, Unilever, Coke, and many more. She will share an insightful case to help us understand why concept and art testing is one of the most effective means to deliver profitability. Then we also have Caroline Wanyonyi. She's a service line leader, audience measurement. She leads the team here in Uganda on audience measurement. Carol will share insights into the shift of audiences, the current media landscape, and advertising trends, and what this means for planning and evaluating communication campaigns. You'll agree with me, a lot has changed, especially because of the advent of COVID and how consumers interacting with channels is different from what it was before. So Carol will share with us a little more information on that. Then we have Barnabas Muya, Barnaba. He's a media research manager. Barnabas will share a presentation on the importance of media monitoring as an efficiency measurement. Barnabas has been with Ipsos for quite a while as well, and is a senior research manager, and we will benefit from his experience on tracking campaigns for the last couple of years. And finally, we have Dennis Otieno. Dennis Otieno is a digital media executive. Dennis will share a presentation on new media in advertising and digital advertising in that regard. How do you manage your digital risk? How do you plan and evaluate your digital matrix? We have a very interesting case of Bad Black and Victoria University. I think we might get into it somewhere along the way. So we'll keep that for the tail end. So you're very much welcome again. Allow me also to introduce the team that has put this together. The Uganda Advertising Association, led by Chairman and President Frank Muthusi. He'll be speaking to us and introducing his member committee that he works with, and he'll tell us a little bit more about what we have prepared for the marketing and advertising industry. So without further ado, please allow me to get the first speaker to get on board. What are we going to learn today? We will learn why we need to embrace testing, a valuable and desirable path to creating brand effect. We'll learn tips to use data to plan audiences efficiently. That is delivering ROI and effectiveness. So efficiency and effectiveness matrix. Then we'll learn about new media, and this really covers digital. What is happening in that space, and how can we take advantage of new media to deliver profitability for our businesses? So thank you very much. We will start with our first speaker. We'll be having 15-minute discussions or presentations from our speakers so that we minimize on our time, and then we will go into the Q&A right at the end. So we allow the speakers to go through their presentations, and then we'll have the Q&A right at the end. So over to you, Caroline Wanyonyi. Caroline Wanyonyi is going to be our first speaker, and she's going to lead the topic on understanding our audiences. Understanding our audiences. Through this data, we should be able to understand how to measure reach, correlate this with category penetration, which is a marketing term that you very well understand. This data will also help us with understanding budgeting, planning for channels, as well as creative preference for target audiences. Thank you very much. Over to you, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rommel, for that introduction. You let me know when you're able to see my screen.
Yes, we're able to see your screen. Just put it in presentation mode. Thank you very much.
Great.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'd like to take this opportunity again to just appreciate and thank Uganda Advertising Association for this opportunity to just allow us to come and have a conversation, because there's a lot to talk about. We cannot even finish in the time that we've been given today. So I'll just try to be as precise as possible so that we can have all the presentations and good time to answer some of the questions that you've already raised. So this is what we're going to cover: a quick introduction of who we are, a background of why we're here today. Then we look at audience research and media monitoring processes, which is very important for us to make sure that we gain what we really spent. Then we look at communication testing, pre and post campaign evaluation. Then we'll also look at impact assessment, digital media, way forward, and Q&A. I think Rommel had already touched on that. So Ipsos, we are a global leader in market research. By that, I mean we are ranked third globally. And this gives us quite a leverage, because we are able to connect with our global teams and gain experiences from there and integrate the two with the local teams and provide data or information that can really serve our clients better. So we are able to connect the global and local teams and better serve you and give you information that can help you to make strategic decisions. So we are in these markets where you're seeing dark blue. We own offices there. We have a full-fledged office. And where you're seeing the turquoise color or the lighter green, we work with partners. So just in case you have opportunities in those markets, you don't need to worry or wonder. You can reach out to us and we will try and work out a solution for you. If we can't do it ourselves, we'll do with our partners in those markets. So at Ipsos, we provide true understanding about society, about markets, about people. So in a nutshell, we have research solutions that will cater for society. You want to understand perception of the society, opinion of the society. We have that kind, we can do that research for you. If you want to understand a market, maybe you're entering into a new market or you're launching a product and you want to understand the market better, we can do such research for you. And also if you want to understand the people, how they perceive products, how they consume. For example, you want to understand how people consuming media, we'll do that kind of research for you. So we are doing all this to help our clients to make right decisions and just take action that will make their business grow and even more profitable. So in a nutshell, globally, Ipsos has about 17 areas of expertise, but today we are just going to focus on a few of them. We look at audience measurement. That's where most of us fall in. Then we have brand health tracking. My colleague Koi will talk more about that and how we do it. Then we also have social intelligence. This is where now we have the digital tracking, a new product that we've introduced on board on how to track your campaigns online. But there's a lot as Ipsos that we offer. And I'm sure at the end of this presentation, you will also have a copy of this so that if there's any area of need that you think your organization would want us to come in and support, we would gladly do that. So Rommel has already set the pace. I just want to quickly summarize this and just give a background as to why we are here today. The media landscape of Uganda is increasingly fragmented and very complex. So this has been fueled by several factors. You have digital migration, you have smartphone penetration. You have now the untamed ethnicity in the country that lacks indigenous national language. So by this, there are several stations that are cropping up just to make sure that they talk to their audiences or to their communities. And this makes planning a very complex affair that needs scientific data or support for us to make sure that we reach and then campaigns that will talk to our population, then a reasonable number of print titles. All this have just made Uganda media scene a more complex region compared to any other, especially across East Africa. So that really makes media planning and evaluation really complex in its own. So a lot is required for you to make sure that you target the right radio, the right TV, and deliver messages that will provide or give you a better return on investment. Then we have consumers.
We seem to have lost Carol. Or is it just me? But I seem...
No, it's not just you.
All right. Are we able to...
Yes, maybe we can just, let's just reshare from this side and we'll see if we can take up where Kara left off. Just give us a second.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Kui.
Hello?
Oh,
there you are, Carol. Yes, we lost you there for a minute. So if you can just, yeah, just go back 1 minute.
Are you able to see my screen now?
Not yet.
Oh, sorry about that. Share screen. So Romel, where did you guys lose me at?
Yes, I think you're speaking to fragmentation and how different it is from the other countries. You know, Kenya has national stations and, you know, they plan over, you know, the most you can plan with is 14 stations. In Uganda, you have, yeah, you have quite a bit to choose from.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I hope I'm clearer now and you're able to see my screen.
Yes, kindly, thank you. Please proceed.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you very much. So as I was saying, yesterday's consumer is not today's consumer. Yesterday, consumer would consume content. Today's consumer is all about building connection. As much as they read, watch, listen, they also co-create. They create this content, they share, they discuss. So today's consumer is very elusive because they have different information, they have access to entertainment portals anytime, anywhere. That means there's a lot that is needed, clearly science behind it. You just need information, you need better tools for you to make sure that you target right and you deliver and get return on his investment. That's where we are here today, and that's why we're having this discussion to you today. So what are we bringing to you today? We are bringing an end-to-end solution. One, we're just quickly looking at audience research or audiences, because you cannot plan without audience. You need to understand your audience. Then after understanding your audience, you need to come up with a creative or a communication that will resonate or will talk to them. So it's important for you to do concept and communication testing. When you've done that, you need your content monitored. You need to plan. By planning, you need to understand the channels I'm going to use. will they deliver the number of GRPs I need, or the number I will need to reach the population that I want. Then also there's new media. Everybody's talking about new media. What is happening? What is new? We see a lot of brands, a lot of companies spreading their budgets online, but are you able to track that? So as Ipsos, yes, we can do that. And that's what we're introducing to you today. So audience research is a whole topic that I'm sure we cannot finish today. I've just tried to summarize it so that we get to clearly understand how to plan and how to evaluate our campaign. But at Ipsos, we've been providing or conducting audience research over 20 years now. And we are able to deliver media ratings to you, our clients, through different variables. For example, if you want to understand media ratings in a certain region, you want to understand media ratings by demographic, by time segments, we've been able to do that in the past years. The last survey we conducted was in 2019, which was the NAMT data. And the beauty about what we provided at that time, or when we launched in 2020, we moved away from just sharing PowerPoints and PDF. Now you have the opportunity to have access to a dashboard. You can navigate the dashboard. You can filter the information by different variables for you to really get into details of the data, not the general, the way we used to provide. So opportunities are there for us to conduct one more before we close the year. I'll be communicating that. We all know what has been happening the past year and this year because of COVID. We could not travel, and because of COVID, we had to also maintain the SOPs, but we are trying to look for ways around it where we can just carry out a quick survey that will help us understand the media landscape and what has really changed. Because early in the year when we conducted a quick omnibus survey where we just put 1 or 2 questions, we realized that yes, more people are consuming online, and Dennis has numbers that will prove that, but still radio and TV are key. Still we have quite a good number of people consuming radio, about 22 million when we did our last survey, and on TV there are about 7 million who are TV. Thank you. So why do we conduct this audience research? Very important. We all know media houses are supported by advertising. So there's great need to understand the audiences and for them to make sales case to marketers why their station is better, why their segments will deliver more numbers, maybe in the morning compared to afternoon. Then still to media houses, it provides an insight on how their audiences are moving or flowing between and amongst different content. So this will really support them in whenever they are doing scheduling choices, and also inform decisions on which content to create and commission in the future, because we all know local content is really appreciated, but will that be the case for long? So with audience research, media houses are able to understand this. To planners, media agencies, this information is very key for you because you need this to clearly inform your decision. There's a lot of justification that just the way Romel has said, why did you choose this media? Why did you advertise in certain station? Through audience research, this information will be able to provide you with all that you need to do a justification. And to our advertisers, policymakers, decision makers, and planners, audience research will help you understand how best to reach this target audience by selecting an efficient and effective media channel that will communicate your messages and deliver best reach and gross rating points. Please don't worry about these terminologies. When we get to Muya's session, he will explain better GRPs and reach so that we are all on the same page. So quickly, allow me just to introduce the media monitoring bit. As I said, after you've understood the audiences, you need your communication to be monitored. At Ipsos, I'm happy to report that we have a tool. It's called Statex, which supports us to do automated or automatic media monitoring. And how this works, whenever there's a new advert on air, we have a team that has been trained to capture these adverts, by fingerprinting, we mean just cut the beginning and the end and save it properly in the database. The next time this content or advert is aired, the system will recognize and pick it. But that doesn't mean we don't have manual intervention. The current system still cannot pick the J mentions, cannot pick announcement, talk shows, and interviews. And that's why we have a team to just go in and manually capture this and save them in the system. So the benefits of monitoring, they are vast, but I've just listed two. We have proof that most of the broadcasts, about 10 to 20%, sorry, my mouse is moving, about 10 to 20% are either missed or wrongly reported. So if you monitor, you are able to capture this sooner and correct it before the end of the campaign. Because remember, through monitoring, that's where you'll be able to get your return on investment and have clear evaluation of what you really communicated. But if all or majority of that is missed or wrongly reported, then that means at the end of it, you'll not have a clearer picture of what you've achieved. Then through monitoring, you're able also to understand the intelligence of what is happening in the advertising sector. Where are the trends going? What sectors are advertising? Which brands are advertising more and in which segments? Through monitoring, you are able to understand that. So I've put this report here because it's very important. Yes, you've monitored, but now how do you confirm? How do you have that proof of light that yes, my content aired? I know station or radio station provides station logs, but you can also top it up with our brand report. A brand report is just a sieved report from a full station log. We sieve it by brand to guide you to understand better. My campaign ran on, for example, KFM at this time and this time segment. And as you will learn from where time segments are very important, where you chose to run your campaign, it's very important because there is a population or there's a target that you want to reach. So if you miss that time segment, then that means you might also have missed out on your end result. So it's very important for you to take clear understanding of the proof of light report, check the timing, check the segments that the adverts have aired, and also work with the media houses to make sure that you are given the slots that you booked for so that you can have better results at the end of it all. There's a process that is very important, and I'm happy most of the agencies are adhering to this. Reconciliations of what has been aired. Every week at Ipsos, we share or provide access to our portal where you as our agencies and other partners who've subscribed to our services are able to log in, pull out this proof of light report, check, for example, if you're expecting total number of spots to be 6, do I have 6? If they're less, there's opportunity for you to query with us. Then we, together with the media houses, can go back and confirm this and make sure that all that you had scheduled to air is clearly reported and has been aired as you scheduled. This is very important. When you miss on this process, clearly you will expect poor results at the end of it all. So we've been providing data in Excel format, in PowerPoint for share of voice. But now I'm happy to introduce Tableau, which gives you an opportunity to do the work yourself. You can have a quick analysis and just review data of the sectors that you are looking at. With Tableau, the system is live or active. You can go in, you can navigate. As you can see, this is 2020 up to August 2021 data. You can get trends on how advertising has been done on different segments, on different sectors. You can filter by month, you can filter by brand, you can filter by number of spots, you can filter by specific campaigns that you want to look at. And this is really a good opportunity, especially for agencies who want to quickly give their clients updates or information on what has changed in the communication they have, look at competition, what is new and where can we learn from, quickly correct and expect better results at the end of the campaign. So Tableau is here. It's a good tool. There are several clients who already interacted with it. opportunities are there. If you need us to demo for you, we are available to do that. But for today, I just wanted to present this and just to let you know that we have this opportunity. Instead of you waiting for the Excel and the PowerPoint and PDF from us, you have a platform you can log in and quickly access this data. So this is Tableau for you. This is company spends. You can be able to check who are the top spenders and evaluate how you've been performing amongst those. And as an agency, you can also evaluate your client's activity. So in a nutshell, that is where I stop. And I would like now to invite my colleague Koi, who will just take over from me and talk about communication excellence, especially the creatives that we have. How do we leverage and make sure they reach our audiences? Koi, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, Carol. Thank you for that detailed conversation on audiences. For the next presentation, Kui, you're very welcome. We're going to look at concept and communication testing. And why is it paramount to invest time at the front end of the development process of your marketing campaign? And how does this lead back to profitability? Thank you. Kui, please, very welcome.
Thanks, Rommel, and thanks, Caroline, and morning, everyone. So yeah, I think Caroline, Rommel have all said the, set the context, at the background for why it is that we're here today. And we've spoken about ads, we've spoken about advertisers, the audience landscape. But for us, what's also really important is to understand, okay, how do we make sure that we're actually communicating effectively? And as mentioned, I work in brand health, and I also work in creative excellence and looking at testing communication. And all of it is very interlinked. Because obviously when you're communicating, you want to communicate your brand, you want to make sure people know what it is that you're offering, and we're here to help you with that. So at Ipsos, what we have condensed, as key drivers for, driving strong brands is one, which is brand desire. You need to make sure that in whatever industry you're in, whichever category you play in, you are top of mind and the most preferred brand in the moments that matter for your consumers and for your target consumer. And then obviously you need to be available. That is perceived physical availability. So whether you have your products in stores or whether you have them online, whether it's a service, consumers must feel that you're reachable, people recommend you, and all the other elements of the marketing mix work. But today we're really focusing on brand desire because this is really the role of communication, to enhance brand desire. And brand desire speaks to two elements. You must be able to serve your customer, meeting the functional needs for the particular product or service you're delivering, and also really emotionally connect with them. So they feel that kind of, I'll choose brand A over brand B. I'm sure you found yourself maybe on the aisles and, you're looking at various, I don't know why this is in my mind, but various, seasonings. And you can see them all there, but there's a reason you'll pick one brand over another. It kind of meets your needs on either functional or emotional level. And at Ipsos, we try to help you grow that and track that as best as possible. So we just move on to the next slide. So for us, really what we try to do is just help you through that whole journey from planning, what is it that we really are thinking we want to communicate to the audience or to our consumers. Then we get the ideas that you actually want to filter through or decide between, okay, which idea should we proceed with to create an ad. Then you probably have different storyboards after that. And you're trying to see, okay, which stories or which narratives work best to connect with our consumer. Then we can look at it and kind of do a pseudo testing. So you can test your ad in a pseudo environment, and then we can go at the end of the campaign, or towards the end of the campaign, we can actually see, okay, what was the in-market performance of your ad. And we have solutions across the board just to help you with that. And I think we'll start with the first one, which is a qualitative dynamic exchange, which Carol will show us on the next slide. All right, we can move to just the subsequent slide. And this is really just a session where we bring yourselves as the agency, bring the client, the brand owners, and bring consumers to interact in a very kind of gamified way. So we have a half-day session or full-day session, depending on how many consumers you want to bring into play. And we give them tasks. We give consumers tasks to carry out based on maybe research findings, stuff about the market, and really just have them come together and give us some new ideas as to how we need to communicate with the market. At the end of that, the consumers, after that task, they present to the moderators, who's us as researchers, and to the clients, and to yourselves as agencies, and you really kind of explain why it is they probably behave in a certain way, why it is that certain brands work for them or not, depending on what the questions are during the gamification portion of this study. And then we get to interact with the clients, the brand owners, yourselves, and really just come up with a few ideas at the end of it, just to see what is it that we can look at as preferred routes of communicating with our audience. And we try to do this as quickly as possible in one session, so it makes it fast and cost effective for you. So if we just move on to the next slide, we'll now take you on to the second stage. Once you have an idea or a few ideas of how you want to communicate with the audience. And here we can move to the, okay, I think the slide is appearing. We have what we call creative labs. Now here we have a mix of quantitative and qualitative research. So you've got your ideas, maybe your storyboards, your narratives, and you want to understand, okay, which ones seem to resonate most with the audience. So we actually expose these storyboards and narratives to the audience, have them answer a few questions. We look at the results, it's actually quite real time. And then we can review the results with your clients, agency, and see what is it that we wanted to kind of delve deeper into, and why does this creative route seem to have a higher preference than another one. And for that, we go into a qualitative session, which means we have little focus groups with our respondents, a few of them from the quantitative stage, and just get to ask, why is this working? How do we improve this narrative going forward? So at the end of the day, if we move to the next slide, the key questions that we will be asking or answering in this phase are really, does the creative idea resonate with consumers? Which creative idea is the best path forward for my brand? How do we strengthen the creative roots? And also, what risks exist with the roots? There could be a risk in people getting bored halfway, people not fully understanding. So it's very important for us to, to do that, because imagine you've spent all your money, you've put your ad on air, and people really don't get it. It doesn't really cut through. And we're really trying to make sure we connect with the audience as much as possible. So we have our ideas that we've flighted, and we now move on to the next stage. So we can move on to the next slide. And here is what we do, where we do creative screening. So you've got different routes, you've got different ideas. Maybe you've got almost a near finished ad, or an animatic, like an animated form of your ad or your storyboard. And you're like, okay, so you have 2 or 3 based on the feedback we've gotten from the lab session with our respondents. So which one works best? We've tweaked it a bit. And this is just really a very quick way to screen ads. And it's also a very cost-effective solution. And the key things that we looked at here is the potential for your ad to break through the clutter. I think Caroline mentioned quite a bit about, the very cluttered media environment, the very many media stations that we have there. So here's where we try to make sure we can maximize on that potential for it to cut through the clutter and gain attention amongst the target audience. And then we also look at the messaging aspect of it here and find out whether the communication will have the desired impact. Do people seem to actually understand what it is that we are communicating through these storyboards or through this, near finished ad? And what do you need to do to make your execution stronger? So really here we're screening, we're checking the creative routes, we're identifying the ones that are most promising to move along with. We can also screen taglines, see what was working best. We can also test music, see what is working best. But here it's very top line. We don't get more of the qualitative or the deeper understandings or the deeper learnings. So it won't kind of validate the route, but it'll give you an idea as what on a top line level is working best and why. Very top line level. So we move to the next stage of the process, where we can move to the next slide. Oh, sorry, just to clarify for ASI check, this screening process, it works on a multiple range of touch points. So it doesn't have to just be TV, it could be your online ad, it could be a radio ad, it could be in-store, it could be outdoor, it could be print. So we test anything and everything depending on the creative you want to have in your campaign. So on to the next slide. All right, so this is where we now validate the creative. We've gotten a few routes. Maybe you've chosen 2 or 3 from the screening process, or maybe we've jumped from the creative lab, created our ads, and we want to see how well will this ad perform in a pseudo environment. So basically what we do is we recruit a sample of respondents that match your target audience. And we have 2 groups. We have your test group and we have your control group. Now, a test group is a group of people who will watch your ad. But the way in which we do it, we kind of expose them to your ad in a distracted environment, very similar to how they will observe your ad in an ad break. So we kind of replicate that real life scenario. Then for the control group, we don't actually show them the ad. We might just show them your logo or your client's logo, and then ask some questions at the end. But really what you want to see is, are there any differences between those who have seen the ad in a cluttered environment versus those who have not seen the ad? So they just have prior knowledge of the ad, of your brand. Is there a difference on, different metrics such as purchase intent? Is there an increased desire to want to buy your product or service after being exposed to this ad in this pseudo ad break environment? Is there an increase in maybe brand desire or relationship? That kind of relationship that people have with your brand. Is there a difference in the way in which people perceive the brand? There may be, key brand imagery values or brand imagery that you want to actually communicate through your ads. So is that actually coming out more from people who saw your ad versus people who maybe had prior knowledge of your ad, of the brand, and have not seen the ad? And here's where we can kind of see what is the ad delivering best on, and is actually meeting your KPIs. So on to the next slide, we'll just look at some of the detailed metrics that we cover in this phase. And really, because we're putting this in a pseudo environment, we're looking at do people actually remember this ad? Because we prompt them at the end of that pseudo ad break. And we look at, okay, is this ad strong enough to cut through and be encoded in the consumer's mind? And how clear are their memories of this ad? And most importantly is, which brand was it for? The worst thing you could do is you have an ad, it's good, it works well, but people think it's someone else, and even worse, people might think it's your competitor. And we've seen this happen with brands who have very similar executional styles, or maybe they're working with an agency that has a similar style in which they shoot their ads. But consumers are not sure, is it brand A or is it brand B or brand C? So again, that's a very key element for us to measure in making sure you cut through. Then the other things on the next slide that we also look at is trying to understand, do people actually get to understand the message? What is their spontaneous understanding of the ad? And here we get them to tell us, and we can ask, one of these 3 questions to understand what is the spontaneous reaction, what do they think the key message is, and sometimes we ask them to tell us how they'd relay the ad to a friend. So we can see what sticks, what did not stick. Sometimes from our side, because you've seen the ad so many times, you feel like you can understand what works, but it's only when you ask a target respondent to actually tell you what they remember, do you really know what actually stuck, because they're coming from a less biased perspective. Then after that, onto the next slide, we will just want to show you a few of the things that we also capture. And these are diagnostic measures that we have standard for all the ads that we test. And we can tell you, is your ad performing above the norm or below the norm, or at norm, at par? And this also kind of helps you to know, okay, if my ad is performing above the norm, let's say on being likable, then okay, that's good, we're working well. But if it's performing below the normal, let's say, is for people like me, we know that your target audience is not resonating with your creative. And by using those norms, we're able to tell you what you need to tweak and what you don't need to tweak to make sure that you have the optimum connection with your consumer. And then we can also ask brand attributes, and things that are of essence to how you want to communicate your brand. And we have a standard question, how much did this ad make you think that ... And you put the statements below over there and work that with you. And then you can add maybe 2 to 3 custom questions at the end, maybe specific to the brand, specific to the product, or anything else you feel you want to collect at the point of data collection. Okay, on to the next slide. So really just to give you the last slide just for this section, how we pre-test ads. I just want to give you an example of a study that we have run. And this is where we used this pseudo environment. We tested 2 ads in the pseudo environment, and we look at seeing what kind of metrics we get out. So the first metric that we give you is a branded breakthrough index, which is a mixture of ability looking at measuring whether people recall the ad in the pseudo environment and whether they're able to correctly link the ad to your brand. And you give you an index score. Anything above 100 is generally good. And this green score 158 is your branded breakthrough index score. Tells you the ability for your ad to cut through. Then there's another score that we have called your persuasion index, which kind of tells you to what extent is this ad able to work for the brand, persuade them either to purchase or build brand desire, depending on what your goal is for your communication. And then at the end of the day, we have what we call the copy effect index. Now the indices, as you can see, are color coded in a traffic light form. So we can tell you what is working and what is not working. So you can see for ad A, it's doing very well on cutting through. Persuasion index is about average, but at the end of the day, the copy effect index is good. It's above our norm. So ad A is a good one to proceed with. But for ad B, we're seeing that on cut through, it's doing well. Persuasion is performing below par. People seem to be getting lost in the narrative and the key messaging. And the copy effect index is about average. So here, okay, if I do want to go with copy B, as well as copy A, I will need to really work on what is wrong with the messaging. So here, just as a takeout, we found out that ad A is stronger of the 2 routes, thanks to there's a specific shot they had in that ad. And what we told the client is they should consider launching with ad A and weighting the media spend in its favor. So putting, more spots and spending more on ad A. Ad B is disadvantaged by less linear storylines. So that kind of affected how it was able to communicate and be persuasive to the consumer. And here we just told the client, how they can show their brand, threads the journey and the celebration narrative. And then we told them to include specific branding scenes from a part of their video. So we give you very specific feedback as to how you need to tweak your ads. So at least when you're going on air, you've done your best, put it on air, and let's get the traction that we can get. So I think from here, I'll just hand over to Muya, who can show you now, you have your creative, how do you plan and get the optimum media buy? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kui. That was really insightful. And you have actually told us why it's paramount to invest a lot of time at the front end of the development process of our marketing campaigns, and how, as marketers, we usually create these works of art and we get lost in them. But how do you get a less biased view, especially from your target audience, in order for you to have a more effective campaign? So thank you very much. We'll go to the next speaker. All these conversations are building onto the same narrative. Our next speaker is Barnabas, and he'll be talking to us about media monitoring. What is media monitoring? With this data, we're able to measure, share of voice. You've heard about excess share of voice, compliance, industry trends, and what does it correlate to in terms of, the marketing asks that we get. This data can also help us with budgeting, planning for channels, as well as creative preference. So Barnabas, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Romel. Thank you, Koi. This is a nice moment. Having heard, Koi talk about creative and the role of creative in ensuring that you are airing the right communication to your target audience, I think it's paramount that then once you have decided, to put it on air, you must then put your cards in the right place. So basically, where you're going to place that creative that you have worked on is very important. It's important that you use some process, to enable you, to get to the right place. So we talk about our tools because when it gets to this phase, actually, you have to think about the tools that we apply in the industry. There are quite a few tools. The main ones in this area, this side of the market is Telma and XPlan or XPlan, as it were. And those are the tools that will be able to help us break down. Looks like the presentation is off.
Yes, Barnabas, your presentation is not on.
Don't know whether Carol has just get it on. Just a minute, I share my screen. If host can enable me.
Sorry guys, I lost you for a minute there.
Okay, you're back, Carol.
Yes, I am.
All right. Okay, then go to the XPlan. And what I was saying is that after you've identified your plan, after you've identified the creative as well stipulated by Koi, you need to place it in an area and in a situation that will be able to help you. So this tool helps us, or any media monitoring tool that has these components is able to bring the right aspects to examine the media trends, to understand the ranking. As it was put earlier, what is the best chance for you to get? Are you going after effectiveness? Are you going after efficiency? Do you want impact? So where do you go in terms of the ranking? What are the programs? What are the channels? How do you analyze these elements to be able to come up and say and justify your case that yes, this is my target, and the best media that matches or mirrors my target is this one. So the tool will help you to go through this. It will help you to analyze competitor performance at the end of the exercise. Once you've done your executions, you've been on air, you want to understand how you performed. You may want to see how the competition performs so that you can, gauge yourself against the significant other or the competitor or the set that you feel belongs to you, to your area. So it helps in multimedia analysis. You can be able to compare radio and TV depending on the type of data that you're working on. So a key thing again is that you can be able to plan and evaluate. Next slide, Carol. You can be able to plan and evaluate. So this is the tool. As we move on to the next slide, this is how the tool looks like. And one of the things that you get from this tool is targeting and filtering. I said earlier that once a creative is done, once you've done and decided what you want to put on air, or even before you get to that point, when you're going through those processes, you'll also want to understand your target audience. Once you have the data, and remember the data is collected in a universal way, but it is within the elements of the data, and by elements I refer to the demographics. Remember we're talking about the traditional media, as it were, elements of age, gender, social class, and all that. You will have to come and target and arrange the data to fit into your target group. To the next slide, please. So once you get the target group, then you're able now to manipulate and to look at the data in a manner that is favorable for you. For instance, there's this module called Media Report that will help you to pick out specific elements. Maybe you want affinity, you want the reach, you want to understand the share, the time spent on a certain medium, so that all those elements should be able to guide in terms of how you're going then to do your reporting. Into the next slide, please. So it is important to do the right media plan. There are channels that do not have a very high reach, but they will have sufficient affinity that will address, the effectiveness that you're looking for, at least at the level of execution. So it's very important to get to that. And quickly you get to understand some of the runs that you pick from here. Before you, there's a slide about the time spots. Remember, this is like big data. You're looking at the way people consume media. Looking at yesterday, how are people consuming media yesterday? And you're looking at all the channels that you've been told. There are quite many. And you want to see spot by spot, how did this channel perform? So that it is not just saying this channel managed to reach 2 million people. You want to ask, okay, it's 2 million people. What about 6 p.m.? What about 1 p.m.? How many people will I get if I was to get into that channel? So you get to this media quick analysis table to be able to get into that. Next slide, please. So that helps you to get into that. You also get a module that relates with the program analysis. So you pick out certain channels that you want to analyze. You want to maybe base it on a certain target that you're looking for. You might be planning around programs. Like in our market, most of our markets, we know most channels are for general consumption. They don't just focus on news or one product. There's a mix and match. So when you are thinking of planning, you are planning against a certain program profile. You find program A has a different profile, program B has a different profile. So when I filter against the target of my campaign, the people I want to reach out to, how do I get the right programs for that? Then you can be able to pick 10 or 5 programs that are top, and then within that target, and then you can now zero in on those programs to be more targeted within your communication. Next, please. So you get more targeted, and after realizing now these are the key areas, these are the right programs, these are the right time spots, these are the right channels for this target, then you go ahead and create your plan. And the tool will also help you. XPlan tool, XPlan tool will help you to do your plan and be able to, to evaluate your plan. Basically what you do here is you create, you put in the specifications, the specs that you need on the tool, and then you analyze to get all the metrics that we are talking about. You'll be able to get your reach, your GLPs, be able to get, and remember this is before you execute on media. So that once you execute on media, you have an idea of what you're likely to get after the campaign is over. This is basically the whole essence of pre-planning, or the pre-plan, and then the evaluation to give you the measures that you're looking for. And then out of that, then you can now be able to move on. So I think then we can look at a case study. A final part of it is that XPlan will not work alone. Sometimes we might just work with another tool we call StartX. It has been mentioned here, and I think it will also be mentioned earlier, later on, about importation of campaigns, post-campaign analysis, optimization of campaigns, planning, analyzing programs. So the linkage, remember, when I'm talking about audience, I'm talking about us going out to collect data on how people consume media. When you're talking about media monitoring, we are talking of a sort of a desk research where we are collecting what media users, or rather media houses, are airing. So on an hour-to-hour, minute-to-minute basis, every advertisement that is being collected, as Carol mentioned earlier, is stored in a data form. So the two softwares are able to work together so that the StartX can be read, or XPlan can be able to read the data from StartX and be able to put in all those analysis that I'm talking about. The grid analysis, the spot and campaign evaluation that I'm talking about. So the working of the two sets, the media monitoring data and the audience data that is monitored out of the audiences, then brings out that whole component. Next, please. Oh, yes. So then you get, after that, you get now your post-campaign evaluation. That is after now you've executed and you want to load data and you say, my campaign is over. Can you tell me how the campaign performed? And now I'll pick the data from the media monitoring database feed it into my audience database, and integrate the two sets to bring out the evaluation, so that you see, do I meet the set KPIs? For instance, if I wanted to reach 70% of the TV viewers, have I managed that? And if not, maybe for the next campaign, what do I need to do? Would I add another channel? Would I subtract? Would I maybe add another module, maybe radio? So those kind of issues will be able to guide you into your future campaigns. And you can see there are quite a few metrics out of this. So again, if we move to the next slide, we will be able to see at least some case study, just a quick case study. Did some, if you move on to the next one, please, we did some analysis on some data that we collected in Q3 2018 in Uganda. More precisely, I think in the telco sector, and just analyzing the Uganda TV data just to see how they are performing. Some of the metrics that we use when you're looking at this is reach, and reach is basically the proportion of unique individuals. So when you're measuring your campaign, how many people watched your campaign without repeating, just a unique viewers or unique listeners to your campaign. At least one insertion, even if you had 100 insertions, at least one person who watched one of them. GLPs, combining everybody and all the times they watched, and picking their ratings and putting them together. That is basically the GLPs. And then you also look at the OTS, the opportunities to see what are the how many opportunities are there for people to see. Is it overdone? Is it underdone? And then the cost per rating point as a measure of ROI is also a very key measure when it comes to post-campaign evaluation and metrics. So those are just some of the terms that we use in this scenario. So very quickly to the next slide, we can see the reach. I picked a target out of nowhere just for purposes of demonstration, males and females who are 35 years in the upper LSM groups or in the upper living standard groups, and then the same males and females who are 18 to 34 years, but then in the lower socioeconomic bracket, and just to see their trends, so that you see, if you look keenly on those reach figures for each of the channels, you'll find some differences across each. You'll see, for instance, in about 2 channels, Spark TV is not the case down there. Positions are changing depending on where you are and which program you're looking at. If you look at on the right side, what we call the ratings, that is morning to evening, you can see the patterns across the day. You see which stations and which day parts are being emphasized, so that at the point of discussing with your media house or your advertiser, you are very sure when you're doing your media strategy that these are the spots that I want to pick. If I'm going for males of this social class, if I'm going to general population, these are the specific targets that I'm looking at. So that is very key, and that is why those slides, those numbers are different, because channels perform differently across different channels. So it's very important not to just assume this is the top station. It could be top, but there could be areas where it doesn't matter as far as certain targets are concerned. So the next slide, please. So after you do that, then you go straight, you do just another demonstration that you do a pre-campaign evaluation. You get an output that gives you the cost. How much cost? This, remember, it's you who put based on the rate card that you placed and the stations that you wanted to load your campaigns on, the GLPs, the impressions, the cost per rating point. You get the reach and you get the opportunities to see all those metrics, as I had highlighted earlier. You get them, and this would probably form your KPIs, and you're looking at scenarios. You can define scenarios as week 1, scenario 2 as week 2, and you can see the progression across, so that is reach growing as I continue to put in more money, or what is happening. So that scenario will come before you go to the campaign. When you go to the next slide, which I believe is the final slide, you now come back after you have executed your campaign and you do a post-campaign evaluation, and now you want to look at some of the metrics that you did. You want to look at all these brand A, brand B, brands, see how are they faring within the different targets that you're looking at. And most importantly, you also want to see how did the reach grow? Could I have maybe cut it off at some point, especially when the reach, I attained my maximum reach at maybe 60%? Would I have spent less money? I know sometimes it's a discussion about impact and also effective, how far, how much do you want to push the message across? But you know, there's a cost involved in all that, and therefore all that will come out once you place your done and completed campaign on this tool. I know I've moved fast. I think I should, in interest of time, put it back to Koi. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Moya. So I think at least you've seen how you can plan, to put in your ads, which stations, which slots, depending on your target audience, and you can evaluate how well the communication or the ad performed from, different key media metrics, your reach, your GRPs, etc. But how do we tell, how effective the ad was, in real life? Because we've done a lot of pre-testing, we've tried to optimize our creative, but what actually happened? So what we tend to recommend is a study that is not, it could be one-off, but ideally it would be something that you track, so you can track your communication every so often, depending on how often you run campaigns. But the general underlying principle of how this study would be designed is really just, hinged on these 6 elements. So the first thing is really just looking at having a full coverage study. And by full coverage, we mean it is a study which is nationally representative of your category engaged sample. So whoever it is that you're targeting, by age, by LSM, by gender, even by region, it doesn't have to be fully nat rep. We make sure that we're covering them within this particular study. Then we also need to make sure when we're testing our creative, not just testing ourselves, but also testing how well did the audience receive our competitors' ads, which were probably running at the same time, or not even competitors. Sometimes you want to look at peers, people who have a similar size within the industry or similar advertising spend. So at least you can see, okay, are we being received equally? And is there anything that we need to do better than our competition that we may not have been able to identify in the pre-campaign or pre-testing stage? And then lastly, we tried to make sure as much as possible to have all the creatives from all the different advertising touch points that we had, be it radio, television, digital, out of home, in-store, whatever it is. We make sure that we have them all there so we can see how well each touch point worked and what it delivered on. Ideally, as I mentioned, this is something that we would be able to measure continuously. And the benefit of that is you'll be able to have clear data patterns. You'll be able to see for your particular category, does digital work for me to create purchase intent? Is TV just for awareness? Is radio for, your tactical quick return campaigns? Whatever it is, you'll be able to see what media works best for you, for your campaign. And generally try to make sure that sample sizes are robust enough so we can kind of delve down. So sample sizes of about 300 or more per wave, depending on the amount of activity in the market is what we recommend. And we have already got very short surveys that are mobile proof, which means we can do them on a mobile phone. It could be done on a laptop or online. It could be done on a tablet as well. Then lastly, what is really, really important is how we linking all of this back to our brand and, to our brand health. It's very important for us to know what were the KPIs that we had for each touch point and for the campaign as a whole, and what did we actually see in terms of the impact? Did we see a difference between those who saw our ad and those who didn't see our ad on these key metrics? And then look at it at how the campaigns or communication performed against diagnostic measures. And then we can see, okay, compared to the norms we have in the market, is it performing above the norm on this metric, below the norm on this metric? So we can see what worked and what didn't work. And then we're doing the same for your competitors. So you can see, okay, clearly we thought we had a good ad, but our competitor did better on this aspect. And maybe that's why they're probably gaining better traction maybe amongst a particular subsegment. So we can also do data cuts for your different consumer segments. Should you have different consumer segments, like I know telcos tend to have different consumer groups that they work with. And then we also layer on the media understanding, what Muya has presented, because obviously your media planning has a very, very huge impact on whether people will see your ad. So we layer that on and we give you some insights, give you some core information on the KPIs on a dashboard. And we have a nice session to analyze and interpret the data just so we can get more in-depth learnings. So on the next slide, one of the things that is really quite useful, one of the things I think is quite powerful, especially if you have a large multi-touchpoint campaign, is layering in the data between recognition. So at the bottom on our x-axis, we have the percentage of people who recognize a particular activation or copy. And this is a hugely influenced by your reach. And sometimes for some clients have actually drawn a correlation. If you want to maximize recognition at this percentage, you need to make sure your reach is at Y percentage. So there's some of that modeling that we're able to do and we've done with some clients. And then on the y-axis, you say, okay, people were able to see your ad, they're able to recognize your ad, but what was the actual impact on the brand KPIs? So here on the y-axis, we'll put your KPI. Maybe it's purchase intent. Maybe it is brand desire. Maybe it is consideration if you're a new brand. Maybe it's trial if that's what you're trying to push. And we'll look at how does each of those touch points play based on the recognition it got, based on which is affected by our media buy, and the in-market performance of the creative, which now tells us how well were we able to, improve our metrics on key brand KPIs. And this is very, very useful for us. At least we know, okay, you can go back to your finance guys and say, this is what worked, what didn't work. We can probably look at the ones that work best, so the ones that are top right-hand quadrant or top left-hand quadrant. We can say we want to spend more on this touch point because we know that it had a huge brand uplift, but we didn't have as high recognition. So we need to push on our media buy to get that higher reach, to get people to recognize it more. So on the next slide, we now look at, okay, we've got a really good creative and we probably want to re-air it. So we really want to make sure that we air it continuously, and Muya showed us the reach curve. You can see with each insertion, how many more people are you reaching? At some point it stagnates, but what we look at as well is now on the y-axis, your advertising impact, that KPI that was really pushing. At some point it will wear out. You really won't have any return on investment. And that's why I said it's good to track this campaign performance, because you can see, hey, okay, here, yes, we've been airing this ad for a very long time, but it's really not giving us any more value than we had before. So at least you can go back to your finance guys and say, okay, we've tracked it, we have seen here it's not working, and we need to go back and invest in a new copy, test it and get something that is a better ad, or introduce probably another ad that has not won out and still it works for your brand KPIs. So that's really how we tie it all together, from pre-testing, planning, and post-evaluation. So to sum it up, what you learn and what actions you can take is that you get to know the cut through of each touch point and activity, pre and post. You'll get to know the contribution made by different touch points. That's why I said it's very important to have all your creatives pre-tested, all your creatives post-tested, and have them all planned efficiently through XPlan. So you can see, okay, what worked and what didn't work. And then also look at from the creative perspective, is your activity well branded? Do people actually know that you're the one who was communicating? And there's several elements that we can help guide you on there, which we won't delve into in this session, but talk to your brand as assets and look at basic different creative executions and what works best and what doesn't work best. And then we look at, okay, yes, we were communicating because we had certain KPIs. So we'll know, is your activity delivering against the short-term and the long-term brand objectives? And are you doing this all better than the competition? Because we have put your competitor ads in the post-testing study. So at the end of the day, you'll know whether to re-air current creative. You know how to rework your future creative strategy with efficiency. So you're making sure that you're optimizing your media buy, and make sure that media strategy, channel weight, frequency optimization is done for you. So thank you very much. I think we're on to Dennis.
Thank you very much, Kui, for summing that up. Very, very insightful conversation. I can see there's a lot of comments that are coming in from some of the remarks that have been made. And just to ladder up to the next speaker, there is a lot that is happening, especially with regard to how consumers are viewing these marketing campaigns. And this could be because of technology. A lot of us have learned how to multitask at the office, online meetings, instant messaging. Even email right now is not seen as being fast enough. So the innovation and creative development process has undergone similar transformations towards fast and speed. And it's very important that we also understand how this is playing out in the digital space. And without further ado, I'd like to give the floor to Dennis Otieno, who will take us through new media, what is happening in the digital space with regard to everything that we have had as well, and every other new digital channel that is coming up. There's a couple of questions that we got on TikTok and WhatsApp, and how can we use some of these channels to deliver effectively and efficiently. So please take the floor and take us through this new trend of digital and how it's affecting marketing campaigns and consumer behavior. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ramel. Thank you, Koi. Thank you, Moya. A lot has been shared regarding to media planning, regarding to how you're supposed to come up with the communication messages so that you can be able to do your advertisement. And again, if we now shift, because apart from just doing the traditional advertising on radio, on TV, there's been a major shift, whereby advertisers are now shifting, changing tactics, and now moving onto the digital platforms. And now this moment, before I dig deeper, I just want to check some of the quick facts on the internet usage in Uganda. And according to the report by Hootsuite, as per January 2021, the internet users in Uganda are estimated to be 12.16 million out of the 47 million. On the same users, about 3.4 million are active social media users in Uganda. So basically this signifies or tells you how much impact the social media for online advertisers. They can be able to utilize this opportunity to do the advertisement. And also looking at some of the platforms. This is very key for media planners, digital planners, to be able to understand which particular platform am I going to use to reach my audience online. And in Uganda, Twitter tops the most to be the most popular platform used by the audience, then followed by the Pinterest, then followed by Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. The key thing to note is on the side of Facebook and Pinterest. Initially, Facebook was the topmost used platform in Uganda, but now it has been overtaken by Pinterest. Reason being, it's based on the current events that happen in Uganda. This is on the election, at the same time on the story around COVID. So there has been a disruptions on how these particular platforms are being used in Uganda. So this signifies and tells you, as a media planner or as a digital planner, I need to change tactics so that I can be able to utilize this particular information and be able to engage my audience, who are majority on those platforms. Then the key thing to note, it's on the TikTok. TikTok has been an emerging, has been a trend platform in Uganda, and majority of people are using TikTok. And the good thing is we are able to capture that on our platform so that we can be able to provide this information for both media planner, creatives, and the digital planners. Next slide. And now, upon executing your plans on those particular platforms, how do you measure? How do you evaluate these particular campaigns? And thanks that we are able to provide the StartX Online, which is a digital tool which has been able to, it's able to measure the online advertising, yeah, for both your ads at the same time your competitor. Your competitor is very key because when it comes to the strategy, when you're trying to come up with a digital strategy, you're able to understand what are my competitors doing. And this particular tool is able to integrate. You're able to see both your ads at the same time your competitors. And some of the key KPI things that we're trying to measure, or the metrics that we're trying to measure, one is the ad impression. The ad impressions trying to tell you the number of times your ad has been seen by the online audience. Another key metric is on the ad spends. This is able to measure to tell you how much you've spent, yeah, on a particular campaign. Another thing is the active campaigns. If you're having a campaign running, you want to see how it is performing in terms of impression, and also how much you invest in it in terms of ad spends, you're able to see. Another thing is the active visuals. The active visuals, now this is the creatives. The banners that you see, the flash banner that you see on those particular websites, we're able to tell you, these are some of the creatives that have been used, be it a square, be it a rectangle, or be it a pop-up or preload banners. So you're able to see these particular active visuals. Another thing is to see the sub-brands. You have a brand, but at the same time, you have a sub-brand, or maybe that sub-brand you want to see, to evaluate and measure how is it performing on those particular platforms. So we're able to categorize this particular sub-brand across the categories, be it a sector, be it any particular websites, you're able to see that particular sub-brand. And now, when we're talking about measuring these particular KPIs, so how our tool able to categorize this particular information? And we have six stages that these particular ads go through before you're able to set it. And the first step is the ad crawlers. The ad crawlers, these are the online bots which are able to crawl across all the social media, across all the online websites, and be able to crop all those particular ads on those particular websites. And the tool is able to monitor these particular ads or to track these particular ads in 24 hours. Wherever you are, is able to capture this and to scrap this particular data. At the same time, there are so many websites. So the question can be, is it able to track this particular website? Yes, because we are able to, the tool is able to track about an estimate of 100 plus, yeah, top websites, yeah. At the same time, the identification, upon this crawler identifying this particular website, there is identification of this particular ad, and then so the tool is able to pull these advertisements posted on those particular websites. Thereafter, it goes to a moderation stage where we have internal ipsos moderators who validates, who classifies and quantify this particular ads. Thereafter, it's uploaded on the server. And from your end, as a end user, you're able to see this these particular ads on the dashboard. Next slide. And now, what scope do we cover? And one, we're able to track the display and the video ads. The display and the video ads running across all the social media platforms, be it Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and now with the recent developments, the TikTok. Mind you to mention the messengers. There is also a new development of integrating Gmail, and this is especially for online advertisers who use email marketing. So we're able to integrate that information and be able to capture these particular ads that runs across. The native ads, the ads which are being programmed by Google Display Networks, or the use of HTML5. Yeah, this is now the program where you program, then you'll be able to target a particular audience. Thereafter, you're able to see, we're able to cover the frequency. These are the number of times the ads have been seen or appears, yeah, within a particular website. Then the ad view. The ad view, now this is the creatives. You're able to see the details of these ad formats, the creative size. Yeah, when you're talking about square banner, the 400 by 400 centimeters, and also the language and the market server. The market server, this is now which particular server is it being used to push this particular ads. And one of the example is the Google AdSense, which is mostly used to push ads across the online websites. The good thing with this particular thing is able to give you information on the go by alerting you in a form of an email, and by trying to categorize this particular information in terms of sectors, category, brand, sub-brand, and websites. The websites now tells you which particular website in Uganda, like for example, when you talk about the New Vision or the Daily Monitor, is able to tell you the Daily Monitor, this is the particular place where your ads are running. At the same time, upon onboarding or trying to use this tool for the first time, we're able to give you a live chat and support and training. Training is very key to able to understand how it works and how to play around it in terms of creating filters, in terms of exporting this particular information. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. And now, what types of ads are we able to cover or to capture? These are the display ads. What kind of format of display ads are we able to capture? These are the images and the flash banners and the HTML5. So we're able to capture all these particular ads. At the same time, the videos that runs on YouTube, yeah, and that runs on TikTok. At the same time, the Facebook and also the Twitter ads. On the Facebook, we are able to track promoted ads, yeah, not ad that runs by influencers, but we're able to track promoted ads. Same thing applies to Twitter. Next slide. Now, this is now the key fundamental question, whereby, guys, because I tried to mention some of the metrics that we mentioned, and one of the metrics was the ad impression. At the same time, the ad spends. Now, so how do we calculate the volume and the budget? Volume here represents the impressions. So what we normally do is on the side of ad impressions, we're able to derive it from the total number, yeah, of times the ad has been seen on those particular websites. Yeah. Then this is now the target of some of the top performing websites in Uganda, because that's where the audience are. Yeah, when you're talking about the daily reach of a particular website, when you're talking about the daily views or the page views of a particular website, and we do understand some of the top websites in Uganda, yeah, that has wide audience. So we're able to provide that. At the same time, how do we calculate the budgets? The budgets we work closely with some of these websites admins, and also we work closely with the agencies who are able to share their rate cards. Then what we normally do is we plug in the rate cards into the system and be able to automate and be able to tell you how many times in using the ad impression and plus the ad spends, and you're able to give you an overview how your campaign has performed within a particular period. And now, onto my last slide. This is now, when should you subscribe to this StartX Online? Yeah, and the good thing with this particular information, the information is relayed in real time. Yeah, this information is real time. Upon ads being verified, captured by ad crawlers, and validated and qualified by Ipsos moderators, this information is uploaded onto the server. So you're able to see this information in real time. Another thing is the ability to monitor on social media. Yeah, these some of the key thing or the key selling point whereby for clients who have small budget, for agents who have small budgets, it's very key to be able to understand if you're promoting your ads on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok, we are able to cut across and be able to tell you this is how your campaign performed, this is how your ad is doing on that particular website. Another thing is the heat map or the visual location. Yeah, if you visit a particular website, you understand there is a particular place, yeah, on that website where ads frequently appears, be it on the right or left hand of that particular website, or maybe the top end of that particular website. So with this information on heat map, it's very key to be able to understand and tell you if you're doing a direct buying on those particular websites and you want to book a space on a particular website. So you're able to know and plan ahead and be able to see and tell that particular website admin, this is where I want to place my ad. The gist part of it is now on the dashboard. The dashboard allows you, it is a dynamic dashboard where it allows you to play around, yeah, around this particular information. You're able to play around filters. You're able to filter sectors, sub-brand, categories, subcategories. Like if you want to see your ad on this particular website, you're able also to filter, and this information is able to be generated. So a dynamic dashboard is a very key thing for any user of this particular website. Another thing is, if you want to export, generate your own reports, yeah, be it in Word, be it in Excel, or be it in PowerPoint. So it's able to give you that particular value. Another thing is, if you want to know my budget, how much I was able to spend on this particular campaign. So with the information on online spends, it's very key, yeah, in terms of budgeting, in terms of media planning for both the media planners and digital planners. Otherwise, with this information, I would love to do a live demo, but the live demo now to depend on the case-to-case basis, in which we are going to align with Caroline, so that we can be able to do these live demos and be able to see this information in a real-time basis. Otherwise, thank you so much for your audience. Back to you, Romeo.
Wow, brilliant. That's been a mouthful of information. Very warm thanks for every deliberation that we've had in the last couple of minutes. As we go into our Q&A, I'm very intrigued by this StartX Online. One of the key issues I believe I've been having in the industry is measuring share of voice in the digital space. So this definitely comes in as a game changer. With the tools that we had before, you'd pick, say, only social media, or you'd only pick, what's in the programmatic or display space. But then, having everything together has been a challenge. So it would be great for us to see this tool working in the market and giving us a full scope of share of voice across all media. So thank you very much. In a connected environment, it's important to know the contribution of each medium to the bottom line. And I believe with this, we are actually getting there. We're able to share with the people that sign off the budgets, the effectiveness that digital campaigns are able to deliver. So thank you very much. We'll now go into our Q&A session. There's quite a number of questions that have come in. And I will try and get the team to answer as many in the next 18 minutes or 15 minutes so that we can end in time. I will start with a question from Faith Kinani. Faith has asked, what is the best way to defend campaigns to the board? What is the best way to define campaigns to the board? Usually when you have marketing campaigns, there are different stakeholders. You have procurement, you have finance people asking questions, and they would like to know, is this money actually a real investment, or it's, we're just going to waste it? So I will ask Hui Kariuki to answer this question. And please feel free, from the panel to jump in and contribute to these questions as well.
Okay, thanks, Romel. Okay, that's a big question. I think the first place to start is really just asking yourself, why is it that I want to do a campaign? Are there particular consumers who are not resonating with? Are there consumers who are not buying our products or services? And if you're able to at least isolate that and maybe give some numbers, I have some numbers behind that, that's the first stage. The second stage is really just to look at, okay, this is who I want to speak to, and this is a budget I need to communicate. If you know you're going to have a campaign that wants to go maybe on a national level, that you now speak to us and maybe ask us, okay, where do I need to put my media on to get a national reach? Is it just TV? Is it TV and radio? Do I need to get some digital as well? And how do we make sure we maximize efficiently to get the most number of people from our target segment who we want to communicate to? Then the third stage, at least if you have that number, you can go back to your rate cards, you can or negotiate with the media houses and say, this is how much I am looking to, this is where I want to put my spots, so this is how much what's the best deal you can give me. So at least you can tell your finance team, okay, this is what we're getting, this is how many people we will reach. And this is now this is the target consumer or target audience that we need to address because our sales are failing in this segment. Then the last stage is to say, okay, what am I going to do in terms of making sure that I get my communication done correctly? Is the ad actually going to communicate? So there is where you may want to go and tell your board, this is how much we need to spend on our campaign for the touch points that we're on. And we need to we'll make it more efficient by testing it or pre-testing it. So at least we know we are going to effectively reach this problem consumer segment. So that's just one way I would help you answer that question, Faith.
Oh, thank you very much. Very well put. It's very important for us to understand what is ailing the brand, and then using that and working backwards by putting together a good case with regard to what is required to fix or to treat what is ailing the brand. And I believe we've had quite an in-depth conversation around brand health tracking and creative testing. All those are to solve, real brand issues. And I believe that should give confidence to whoever is signing off the budgets that this is a good investment at the end of the day. My second question will go to Dennis. So thank you very much for your presentation. The question is around new media. And somebody has asked, This is Gerard Lukongwa. He has asked, how do we evaluate and measure the impact of advertising on WhatsApp and TikTok social spaces on brands? I know you have spoken a bit to TikTok, but WhatsApp is one of the big platforms, and everybody's wondering, how do you unlock value, for this particular channel?
Okay, thank you, Romel. Just to start with the WhatsApp. WhatsApp has been a challenge, but it's work in progress. We're able to, because with the TikTok, we were able to bring it in during this year. And now for the WhatsApp, it's a work in progress. The technical team is working on the background to be able to see if we can be able to integrate this particular platform. The challenge has been the encryption, and we all understand WhatsApp is much secured, with the encryption part. So allowing a third-party tool to track ads that runs on those particular platforms, it's kind of been a challenge. But again, the WhatsApp is able to enable us as individual users. If you're in a group, or maybe you've created a WhatsApp business. So what we normally do is it allows you to export this particular information. You're able to export this information. And what I would recommend is, if you can use a particular platform, a third-party platform, like for example, What Analyzer, it's able to analyze upon exporting this information in Excel file. You're able to upload this Excel file on this platform and be able to analyze how the conversation around the ads on that particular WhatsApp business account. So you're able to see how the information, who has been seeing your ads, how many times your ads have been viewed. So with WhatsApp, it has been a challenge. On the side of TikTok, so what we normally measure or evaluate, like I said before, we look at the ad impression. The ad impression now, it gives you an overview. How many times your ads has been seen and where, because when you're doing a campaign, you want to reach a larger audience, and you can't plan ahead if you didn't have this information. How many people you've tried to reach in a particular period, using the calendar that you have, or using the target number of audience that you intend to reach. So it helps you to give you, how many people you've reached on this particular time. At the same time, we're able to measure in a way to give you how much you have achieved in terms of spends, how much you've spent on the particular campaign. So it also gives you which particular sectors or which particular website the audience are able to see these particular ads.
All right, thank you very much, Dennis. I think yes, WhatsApp has been a difficult one to unlock. But what we have seen in the industry as well has been, for example, the employment of chatbots and using, WhatsApp as a part of the ecosystem to e-commerce and direct selling. That is how most people are using it. I think just modeling, its effectiveness is quite critical, and I think it's something we need to look at. I think it would be good to look at it in view of other data sets, like case studies on what has been sold as a result of using the tool. But it's I think it's definitely something to continue pondering. My next question, thank you very much, Dennis. My next question is going to go to Carol. And there's been quite a bit of interest in the audience data that you showed. There's a question from Joshua Kamugabirwe, and he's asking, when is the next NAMS coming out? But also he asked, the 22 million consuming radio and 7 million that is TV reach. Is this weekly reach or is this daily reach? Then he also asked, which techniques do you use for data collection? Are we still using diaries, questionnaires, town halls? How have you repurposed yourself in line with what's happening with COVID in order to collect data and ensure that it's accurate and it is readily available as and when the clients need it? Cara, over to you.
Thank you, Romel. Thank you very much for those questions. Allow me to say that, wow, COVID has really affected our processes, because initially the last survey we collected was face-to-face. That is the methodology that we used, household levels, visiting household levels, reaching out to audiences who are 15 years plus. And that's why you've seen we've not conducted another survey last year and this year. Because of that, we had to keep social distancing and just respect and protect our respondents and our audiences in that regard. But as I mentioned earlier on, we are planning to do what we call day after recall. This time is not NAMS. NAMS is where we do an establishment survey. But with day after recall, we are going to track the database that we had visited in 2019, but boost that sample to make sure that we are able to at least reach a sample of 6,000, because we know a lot has changed since the last time we were in the field. But now with COVID, we are moving into more resilient methodologies. This time we're going to do CATI, and if we see there's need, we can also integrate that with online, as we just wait to observe how COVID situation is going to cool down and allow us to move around the country to conduct face-to-face. Why we insist on face-to-face, this is a very good opportunity for us to engage with our audiences, to get to know them better, because we know audience research, when you carry out telephonic research, you really have to either spend a lot or call in a big number for you to reach the targeted audiences. So to answer your question, we are planning to have one before the year closes. Then come next year, we'll now engage the industry and we collect another detailed establishment survey, because the last one, as I mentioned, it was in 2019, and we know a lot has changed. So we'll be planning to do another establishment survey come next year.
All right, thank you for those updates. I believe that question has been well answered, and we look forward, to having more regular, real-time data sets that actually help us, make real-time decisions.
Maybe something I forgot to mention, Romel.
Yes,
we
please.
really need the industry support, because as we all know, research is a very expensive affair. So every business is struggling, and for us, it's very good to put in our capital, our investment, but also we're just requesting the industry to support us by buying the data. Because if we conduct the research and then the uptake is low, it really beats the purpose. So that's the position we are in. But yes, it's our mandate to make sure that the industry has audience data that they can use.
All right, thank you, Carol. I believe the UAA chairman is listening, and the entire team. And I believe he'll give some remarks at the end of this session on a way forward on that. My next question is from Ronnie Olanya, and he's asking, and this question will be to Barnabas: how best can we leverage media and digital platforms to execute a very successful online campaign while minimizing costs? How best can we leverage media and digital platforms to execute a very successful online campaign while minimizing costs? I believe this question is around integration. How do you deliver a good split between those two while minimizing cost. Over to you, Barnabas, data
Thank you.
guru.
I think it's important to understand the reach of the different media and be very, specific and, be sure that you are planning around the time that you need, where you can get the best of what you say, the cost per rating point for best ROI. And it's like a funnel type. So at the point of planning, you need to have set your eyes on how many of these targets are on online, how many of these targets are on, mass media, as it were. And then you funnel your costs accordingly so that you don't overspend on one, which could be overly expensive. And then, do little on something that could have given you better value, better effectiveness, yet it not give out the money for that. So we know from experience that high impact media, high reach exposures are generally cheap when you are targeting to get to more people. So those kind of checks can be able to guide you to do a proper balance between the media type and even within media type between the programs and the right platforms in a multi-touch point perspective, to deliver what you ought to deliver and also get value for money.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Barnabas. Closely related to this question, and I believe this is somebody who is trying to up his side hustle. And I believe it's someone from an SME background, and that comprises of a very huge component of the businesses in Uganda. This person, Belinda Kabakoyo, is asking, how does one get to advertise their errands business enough to get tangible results, including clientele? I'll pose this question to Dennis Otieno. How does one get to advertise their errands business enough to get tangible results, including clientele? So how do you grow your clientele? How do you grow a customer base through what we have shared?
Okay, thank you, Romel. First of all, as an enterprise, first thing is you have to understand, you need to know or to be able to consider is your audience. Who are your audience or who are your clientele? Yeah. And the second thing is, what are you selling in terms of your product? Yeah. At the same time, as you plan now to execute your messaging, so how have you packaged your messaging? Yeah, in consideration of various platforms that you intend to use, because as you plan to advertise, there is a particular platform that you intend to use so that you can be able to reach your clientele. So, and where are these clientele, or where are they on those platforms? Are they on WhatsApp business? Are they on Messenger? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Twitter? Are they on TikTok? So it brings out what you tend to do and where do you want to execute your strategy. So when you're looking at the messaging or the message that you intend, is it an image? Is it a video? Is it a text? Yeah, because the way you package information or the campaign on a Facebook is totally different on Twitter or on WhatsApp, or maybe let's say on TikTok or on Telegram. So it is totally different because the way you package it, it's what it's going to bring in more clients. Yeah, it's more. It's what you'll be able to see in terms of impression, in terms of engagement, people trying to inquire, yeah, your businesses. So And also coming up with a calendar. Yeah. How frequent are you going to be engaging your audience? It will be very key, because if you, on your calendar, if you tend to be posting your campaigns or your messages, your promotions in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening. So basically you've been able to understand at this particular time, this is where my audience engage with me the most. Yeah, or this is where my audience, this particular time, it's when your audience have logged in. Yeah, they're checking their conversation on Facebook, they're checking their conversation on WhatsApp or on Twitter. So it relies on how you plan to intend to execute your strategy in consideration of your calendar, the message, and how you package everything to be able to attract your clientele.
Chairman, to close the meeting. Thank you very much for your kind attention and for your participation. We are really grateful, and thank you for the overwhelming attendance for this particular webinar. I've been your host, and I sign out for this one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Romel, and thank you everybody who attended this. I would like to thank the Ipsos team, Koi, Caro, Barnabas, and Dennis. I think you guys have done an amazing job. There are some questions that we were not able to answer because of time. Please just go to the UA website or the UA Facebook pages. We'll be able to respond to some of those questions. This recording will be uploaded on YouTube. You know, if you need just a refresher, this presentation will also be shared to us by the Ipsos team. So whoever has registered for this, we shall send you a copy of this presentation just for your reference. So with those few remarks, thank you very much, and I wish all of you a blessed day and weekend. Bye, people.
See you. Thanks a lot.
All right.